the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Head of Service and CEO of NAM and G77 plus China summits, the Deputy CEO, the PS, the Permanent Secretaries present, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I would like to welcome you all to this media event for launching the 19th Non Alligned Movement and Third South Summits. This morning's program will go as follows. We shall have remarks by the Chairperson, Private Sector Foundation, Uganda. I've been informed that the Chairperson is represented by the Vice Chairperson, Private Sector Foundation, Ms. Sarah Kajingo, after which we shall have remarks by the Chief of Protocol, and he will invite the PS Minister of Foreign Affairs. The PS Minister of Foreign Affairs will make his remarks and invite the Head of Service. The Head of Service will make her remarks and invite the Minister of Foreign Affairs. The Minister will make his remarks, after which he will launch this media event, and then we shall have a panel session for questions and answer. At this juncture, I would like to invite the Vice Chairperson for Private Sector Foundation, Madam Sarah Kajingo, to come to the podium and make her remarks.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Minister of State for Regional Affairs, representing the Minister for Foreign Affairs, the Permanent Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Permanent Secretaries present, the Permanent Representative of Uganda to the UN, the Head of Public Service and Head of the National Organizing Committee of the NAM and G77 summits, heads of agencies, captains of business, members of the Fourth Estate, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. As you know, Honorable Minister, Private Sector Foundation Uganda is the apex body of the private sector, and Chairman Humphrey Nzei and I are privileged to lead a uniquely structured leadership of the Private Sector Foundation. Our board is elected from a membership of over 300 business associations, representing a combined number of businesses that is 2.5 million. It's therefore with great honor and excitement that I stand before you at this media launch of the forthcoming 9th Non-Aligned Movement and G77 summits, which Uganda will be honored to host from the 19th to the 22nd of January 2024, and we welcome distinguished delegates and business leaders from the Global South to our beautiful country. I take this opportunity to unveil the East African Business and Investment Forum and Trade Exhibition, which will be held as a pre-event of the NAM and G77 summits, a pivotal event that will draw private sector leaders from across the Global South to forge new partnerships, explore investment opportunities, and chart a course for a more prosperous future for our nations. As we all know, the world is undergoing profound transformation, and the Global South is poised to play an increasingly significant role in shaping the global economic landscape. The private sector will leverage the collective strengths and address the shared challenges we face with business and investment proposals during the East African Business and Investment Forum, which will be held from 15th to 18th January at this very Serena Kampala Hotel. At the heart of this summit lies the recognition that the private sector is the engine of economic growth and development. It's through the ingenuity, creativity, and indeed entrepreneurial drive of businesses that the full potential of the Global South will be unleashed toward a more inclusive and sustainable future. We at Private Sector Foundation are therefore very pleased to lead the preparations of the Business and Investment Forum in partnership with government, and we are very thankful to government, to the head of the Public Service, and indeed Foreign Affairs Ministry for partnering with us always on business summits. The theme of the forum, deeper cooperation in trade, tourism and investment for shared global affluence, aptly captures our collective aspirations. The forum will provide a platform for B2B, B2G engagements and explore avenues for collaboration and identify concrete initiatives to advance our economic agenda. Among key areas of mutual interest, we will discuss agro-industrialization, tourism, manufacturing, industrial parks, energy, mining, oil and gas, among others. Through the aforesaid engagements, we aim to achieve the following objectives. 1, facilitate the signing of at least 5 investment deals worth $100 million to catalyze economic activity and create jobs across our region. Develop a compendium of investment leads to be shared among businesses within the G77 and NAM, which will open doors to new opportunities and foster cross-border collaboration. We will also sign at least 3 joint venture partnerships between businesses aimed at strengthening ties, pooling resources, and expanding market reach. A private sector memorandum highlighting priority recommendations to improve the business environment within the G77 and NAM countries, which will provide valuable insights to policymakers and drive positive change. Ladies and gentlemen, the success of the Business and Investment Forum is contingent on our collective efforts here in Kampala, as well as continued commitment, follow-up, and collaboration beyond our borders. Let's foster a spirit of partnership, share knowledge and expertise, and ensure that the event is a success. This forum is a great opportunity to market our country and businesses. The NAM and G77 summits even a greater opportunity to position Uganda as a MICE destination. Key to this endeavor is seamless execution of the event, and we invite Uganda's private sector, all of you companies, some of which are renowned brands in Africa, to lend your hand to the success of the Investment and Business Forum for the benefit of your businesses, Uganda, and region at large. So we invite you to register as delegates to the forum and actively engage, share your perspectives, generate innovative solutions, and contribute to the shaping of policies which enable the thriving of businesses. contribute to the budget of the event through sponsorships. We invite you to exhibit, showcase, transact, and build networks. And from Private Sector Foundation Board of Directors, we thank you, Permanent Secretary, and the entire leadership of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and through you, Honorable Minister of Regional Affairs, to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the entire government for the opportunity to partner with you to organize this summit. Thank you for listening to me, for God and my country.
I would like to invite the Chief of Protocol to come and invite the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs, to make his remarks.
Thank you, Sam. The Honorable Minister of State for Regional Cooperation, the Head of Civil Service, and the Chairperson of the National Organizing Committee for the two summits, the Permanent Secretaries of the respective ministries present here, our Permanent Representative to New York, colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, colleagues from the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I, on behalf of the Technical Committee, again welcome you here as we embark on this journey of explaining to you, working with you on the hosting of these two summits by the government of the Republic of Uganda and the people of Uganda, if by extension I may. As Sam has said, there will be various speakers, starting with Sarah you have listened to, then the permanent secretaries, and later crown it with the minister launching the event itself. But just to clarify that there will be a panel discussion, a panel session that will be taking your questions. So if you have questions, hold on to them. When the appropriate time comes, some will announce, and then we have a clear session at which you shall be receiving and answering your questions. Without much ado, let me request the PS to come and give his remarks. Mr. PS.
The Honorable Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Regional Cooperation, the Honorable John Mulimba, the Head of Public Service and Secretary to Cabinet, also the CEO of the NAM and Third South Summits, colleagues, permanent secretaries here present, heads of agencies, invited guests, senior colleagues in government, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, a good morning to you all. Good morning to you all once again. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to this very important event, which is an event where we are communicating our preparedness in respect to the hosting of the two very important summits. As you know, Uganda will host the Non Alligned Movement Summit and the Third South Summit in January 2024. And indeed, we are here today, this morning, to share with you our level of preparedness to host these two summits. And I want to take this opportunity to call upon you all to render us the necessary support, especially the media. In the recent past, as you may know, we have had advisories. To the extent that certain parts of the country were not safe to visit. However, the media did an excellent job in promoting Nyege Nyege, and indeed, from the reports that we have read, that event was extremely successful. It is indeed, and actually according to what I have read, it recorded, I think, more participants than ever before. But that's simply because the media played their role, they communicated, they encouraged people to participate, and indeed, some sections of the media participated. So we expect that we shall be rendered the same support from the media in as far as the hosting of these two very important summits are concerned. These two summits are a vote of confidence in your country, in our country, and I want to urge us all to indeed support these efforts and provide the positive communication that we need. Indeed, if there's anything that you feel needs to be improved, we at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs are open and we are happy to listen. But I think we owe the country a duty of care to ensure that we promote our country as a positive destination for tourism. As you know, a tourist is someone who comes in a capital and spends a number of days, 3 and more, and we are hoping that these events will indeed assist us in promoting the country as a tourism destination and also as an investment destination, as Sarah Kajingo has communicated. With those remarks, colleagues, I want to emphasize that we need everybody's support in delivering the two events. As you know, they will be held at Speak Resort Munyonyo, and all efforts have been made to ensure that all goes according to plan. Without further ado, allow me to take this opportunity to invite the Head of Public Service and Secretary to Cabinet, who is also the Chief Executive Officer for the National Organizing Committee that is preparing for the two summits, Madame Lucy Nachobe. Madame Lucy Nachobe, I duly invite you to come and address us and give us an update on where we are in as far as the preparations are concerned. I thank you.
Honorable Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Regional Cooperation, Honorable John Mulimba, Permanent Secretaries present, Heads of Departments and Agencies, Media Houses present, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. On behalf of government and on my own behalf, in my capacity as the CEO for the National Organizing Committee for the 19th Non Alligned Movement and the 3rd South Summits, I am delighted to welcome you all to today's media event. You are very much welcome, and we appreciate your presence here. We appreciate your time. And we are here today to make you our partners. We have been in the kitchen cooking, and now the food is ready. We are putting it on the table, and your role is to make sure that you participate in the invitation of the would-be eaters of this food. So if you have that role, it means you must speak for this food very well to entice the eaters to come in big numbers. If you have a naughty child in the home and the mother has cooked and then this child goes to say, oh, mommy put a lot of salt, put pepper, did this, then you discourage the eaters from coming to eat. But if you play the good role of saying, oh, the food is so nice, it's so tasty, it's so yummy, then we get very many eaters. So that's why I'm saying today we are in this together. You, the media, and us, it is our role to ensure that these summits are attended in big numbers and are held successfully. So having said that, you are all aware that Uganda will be hosting the 19th NAM Summit and the 3rd South Summits from the 15th to the 23rd of January 2024 under the themes that you have seen there very well. There is one for the NAM, which is deepening cooperation for shared global affluence, and also there is one for the South Summit, which is leaving no one behind. And these two summits will take place at the Speak Resort, Munyonyo. Today we are here to inform the public about how prepared we are for these two important events. These preparations started way back in November 2022, and today we feel we are ready to let it out for everybody to know what has been going on. It is also worth noting that the endorsement for Uganda to hold these two summits is a vote of confidence in the leadership of our President, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and also in our multilateral engagements. Dear ladies and gentlemen, me standing here, I was appointed by the President to be the CEO, and I want to take this opportunity to introduce my deputy. If you can come over here. My deputy is Ambassador Ayebale. You know him very well. He's a very common person amongst you people here. And I think I want to introduce him to you. This is my deputy. Thank you very much. You can go back and sit. And then I've been having a team of permanent secretaries. Those permanent secretaries here present, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you. Madame Zawede, PSICT, Madame Doreen, PS Trade, Mr. Bajire, PS Foreign Affairs. If there is any other PS that I have not seen, can you please? I think those are the ones we have here today, but there's a big team of permanent secretaries who are not here today. When we are given this role, we formed a national organizing committee, and this committee is led by permanent secretaries, and we did form 13 subcommittees. And these subcommittees have been behind doing a lot of work. And I want to appreciate you all for the work you've been doing. So I take this opportunity to update you on the preparedness. What is it that we have done so far? As far as venue is concerned, the two summits are going to be held at Speak Resort Munyonyo. The construction of the multipurpose convention center is on course and will be ready in time to host the two summits. Transport and vehicles for the summit. The government has mobilized the requisite vehicles for the two summits. And in addition, the People's Republic of China earlier had donated 70 SUVs and added us another 70 SUVs. And these are already here with us in the country for use at the summits. On works and infrastructure, The government of Uganda has embarked on the road repairs and maintenance works in preparation for the summits. There is improvement going on the drainages, flood management, street lighting, and as you might already have noticed, there is a lot of construction going around, especially around the city and on Entebbe Road. And we hope all this will be ready for the summit. Similarly, the local governments that are involved, Machinje, Sabagabo, Kajansi, Entebbe, Katabi municipal councils, they are also fully engaged in the beautification and repairs and maintenance in their areas. Security and accreditation. I want to assure you all that the country is secure to receive the international visitors coming in January, and everything is ready, and we are ready for our guests. But I still call upon the general public to continue the vigilance to keep the security tight. ICT, media, and publicity. We have developed 2 websites, one for NAM and one for the 3rd South Summit, and these are ready and up and running. Conferencing, protocol, and immigration. We expect all the 134 member states to send delegations to the summit, and these delegations will either be led by their heads of state or heads of government, or will be represented. On accommodation for the delegates, including the VVIPs, all our hotels are ready. They've been sensitized, they've been inspected, and they are ready to receive our guests. The main framework of the NAM outcome document is ready, and this will be adopted by the Ministerial meeting outcome document agreed on in Baku, July 2023, and the one for the G77 is yet to be accomplished, and work is on course. Traffic management plan and control during the period of the summits. The Uganda Police Force will ensure that the traffic management control and guidelines for the summit is appropriate when the time comes. The health subcommittee, I want to say that government is putting in place all that is necessary for the health measures. The spouses program subcommittee, the program for the spouses accompanying the heads of states and government has already been developed. The airport is undergoing a number of readjustments, and this includes extension works at the main terminal building, construction of the VVIP parking, and a new search area is already complete. The new extension block will be ready for use by the time the conference is here. Lastly, the business forum. As per past procedure, the country hosting the above summits has always taken an opportunity to organize side events, and so will the case be. Uganda will be holding a trade exhibition, and the East African Investment Forum to leverage on the opportunities during the summits to promote trade, tourism, and investment for the country. The dates for the above forum will be 15th to 18th January 2024 and will be held at Serena Hotel, Kampala. The trade exhibitions will provide space to Ugandan companies to demonstrate their manufacturing capabilities on the sideline of these important events. We expect the business forum to provide a platform for creating the opportunities, identify joint venture partnership, as well as signing letters of intent to invest in a variety of sectors by the end of the forum. As I conclude, on behalf of NOC, I wish to extend our sincere appreciation to the President of this Republic, the Cabinet, for their wisdom guidance during the course of the preparation, And I would like to call upon all of you. As I said, we are partners. We are banking on your support to enable us to achieve these 2 summits as a successful event. I now take this opportunity to invite the Honorable Minister to come and address us. Thank you very much.
The Head of Public Service, Permanent Secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs, distinguished invited guests, senior government officials, members of the press, fellow Ugandans, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. I join my colleagues in welcoming you to this very important activity, which is part of our planning for hosting of the 19th Summit of the Non Alligned Movement, as well as the 3rd South Summit of Heads of States and Government. For the government of Uganda, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and indeed the people of Uganda, hosting these 2 summits in Kampala should make all of us proud. Never before in the history of Uganda have we organized such big meetings. Never before have we hosted the number of delegates we are expecting. The last major international conferences organized were the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in 2007 and the African Union Summit in 2010, both of which had over 50 member states. For the 2 summits in January, we expect to receive delegations from about 145 countries, comprising member states of Non-Aligned Movement and a group of 77 plus China, as well as observers. We also expect representatives of regional and international organizations, including Inter Alia, United Nations, and the Commonwealth. Ladies and gentlemen, within 2 years of Uganda's attaining independence in 1962, we joined other developing countries as members of Non-Aligned Movement and a group of 77 plus China, while we joined NAM during the 2nd summit in Cairo in 1964. We are founding members of the group of 77, which was formed in June 1964, and we have remained active members of both organizations. As I will outline later, the 2 organizations were established for good reasons, and we are glad that we have remained true to these aspirations. Formed in 1961 as the first summit in Belgrade, former Yugoslavia, the Non-Aligned Movement was formed out of the desire to avoid polarization of countries of the developing world during the Cold War era between pro-Soviet communist countries of the Warsaw Pact and the pro-American capitalist countries belonging to NATO. It was also intended to further promote the colonization of Asian and African countries which were fighting for their independence. While most of the objectives were realized, especially when the Cold War ended, other issues have emerged over time which still require existence of non-aligned movement and engagement of its members. Since its founding, the work of NAM has been guided by the following 10 Bandang principles, which also broadly speak to Uganda's foreign policy, as well as regional and international organizations such as the United Nations. Respect of fundamental human rights and for the purposes of and principles of the Charter of the United Nations, respect of sovereignty and territorial integrity of all nations, recognition of equality of all races, of equality of all nations, large and small, abstention from intervention or interference into the internal of another country, respect of the right of each nation to defend itself singly or collectively in conformity with the Charter of the United Nations, abstention from the use of arrangement of collective defense to serve particular interests of any big powers, and abstention by any country from exerting pressures on other countries, refraining from acts or threats of aggression or use of force against territorial integrity or political independence of a country, refraining from acts or threats of aggression or use of force against territorial integrity or political independence of any country, settlement of all international disputes by peaceful means, such as negotiation, conciliation, arbitration, or judicial settlement, as well as other peaceful means of parties' own choice, in conformity with the Charter of the United Nations, promotion of mutual interests and cooperation, and respect of justice and international obligations. The group of 77 plus China, which derives its name from the 77 original signatories of the Joint Declaration of 77 countries, was formed at the end of the first session of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development in Geneva. The primary goals of the group are to maintain independence and sovereignty of all developing countries, defend their economic interests, establishing a united front for negotiations on issues of common concern to developing countries. Ladies and gentlemen, the 19th Summit of NAM, heads of states and government, will be convened under the theme, Deepening Cooperation for Shared Global Affluence. Uganda's choice of this theme was informed by many factors, including the following realities. The history of human development has been characterized by inequality, threats of nature to humans in different forms, and threats of humans against other human beings. At the time of independence, for many of the NAM members, global affluence and prosperity was concentrated in only a few countries. This unfortunately remains the case today. Sometimes the growth and economic transformation of some countries is perceived as a threat to others due to competition, instead of embracing such progress for the potential greater good. For many of NAM countries, there is an almost deliberate effort by already developed and affluent countries to encourage and or compel them to sell low-value and processed products and minerals instead of high-value refined products. This kind of relationship of economic exploitation of the poor and weak by the rich and powerful is not desirable nor sustainable. The logic of win-win and mutual interest between countries should be supported more through deepened cooperation. The Third South Summit had been scheduled to take place under the theme, Leaving No One Behind, in the spirit of Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, immediately after the summit, Uganda will assume chairmanship of NAM for a 3-year period, 2024-2027. We shall also assume chairmanship of Group of 77 and China for 2024. This will provide a unique opportunity for Uganda to be at the center of global affairs, supporting and promoting interests of developing countries. The vision for Uganda's 3-year chairmanship of NAM will be a stronger and united NAM that contributes to a better world for all. This vision directly speaks the proposed theme, working towards strengthening NAM over the 3-year period, is a call for cooperation and collaboration within NAM membership. A better world for all speaks to the imperative of working towards promotion and prosperity. A better world for NAM member states speaks to a better place and prosperity for Ugandans in line with our national development frameworks. As Minister of Foreign Affairs, we are making the necessary preparations for effective chairmanship of these two organizations. First, we shall adequately support Uganda missions abroad where NAM and G77 and China chapters exist, namely New York, Geneva, Paris, Addis Ababa, and Nairobi. For the NAM chapter in Vienna, we are making arrangements to open an embassy to address NAM matters under this chapter. No doubt, We have a big task ahead as a country, but it's one that makes us proud and generates opportunities and potential. With those many remarks, I thank you for your kind attention. Karibuni.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I would like to invite the head of service and her deputy, the PR, to join the Honorable Minister in launching the 19th NAM and Third South Summits. Also, the permanent secretaries, led by PS Bagire, as well as the Chief of Protocol, to join the Honorable Minister in launching the summits. Yeah, please.
It's now my singular honor to officially launch the ongoing preparations for hosting of the 19th Non Alligned Movement and Third South Summits by Republic of Uganda. That's enough noise.
Eat your fast as it goes to think with deep gratitude. No time for giving up bad attitude. Life is a blessing in its magnitude. Oh yeah. I don't have to have a life to live a happy life. Only you can give you a happy life. When it's
we are now going to the next phase of panel session for Q&A. I would like to invite to the podium the Honorable Minister. He will be joined by the Head of Service, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs, the PR, and the Chief of Protocol. Please, you're welcome to the podium for the Q&A session. The session will be moderated by the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Cultivate, penetrate, ikidamunda munze kona wetutu. Situla omokwano heve, lete munyenye no mwezi heaven. Bring it on reggaeton, chakala munda munze kona wetutu.
Once again, thank you for joining us this morning. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Honourable Minister for his remarks, to thank the Head of Public Service and Secretary to Cabinet for her remarks, and to also take the opportunity to invite my colleagues, PSs, to come and join us at the podium. So, friends, members of the media, you have listened to the remarks by the Honourable Minister and the remarks by the Head of Public Service and Secretary to Cabinet, and we expect that there are some clarifications that you may want. So as such, I will invite you to kindly raise your hand, declare your interest to ask a question, ask the question, and the panel before you will provide answers and or any clarifications that we may need to do. So whoever is ready, the floor is yours. We welcome you to ask the questions. And I hope my colleagues, the team, we have microphones at the back that our colleagues and friends, the members of the media, can use to ask their questions. So whoever is ready, kindly raise your hand. And okay, there is the gentleman on my left in a red shirt. Where are the microphones? There's someone over there.
Hello. Yes, thank you very much for the good work.
Now, kindly stand up, and if you don't mind, I can appreciate that some parts are dark, and I think in part to make sure that the people who are answering questions are seen, isn't it? So can I suggest that you come in front if you don't mind? Thank you very much. Introduce yourself, your media house, and then go ahead and ask the question. Thank you.
Yeah, it's better. Yeah, my name is Dennis from the Uganda Radio Network. Thank you for the good work you've done, because according to the preparations, we are on it. My only question is about what could be our budget, because these are very big events. What could be our budget as a nation into these events? Thank you very much.
Okay, that question is on the budget. The panel will answer that. From Dennis, Uganda Radio Network. There is a gentleman here.
I have the mic.
Wait. Kindly move forward if you don't mind. Okay.
All right. I'll take the advantage and stay right here. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chris Higenyi. I'm a presenter at NTV. My question is directed to any concerned official with regard to Uganda's recent posture on the international scene. We can confidently say there has been a lack of clarity on where we stand. And many times, government officials have depended entirely on the tone and temperament of the president, especially when responding to questions and aspects that are raised by members of the international community, including on very controversial aspects on legislation. ahead of the Non Aligned Movement Summit and the third South Summit, we are at pains to understand exactly where Uganda officially stands on key developments and trends across the globe. When constraints have been explained to global trade, conveniently the conflict or rather the conflict between Russia and Ukraine has been fodder for every government official to claim it's responsible for some of the inconsistencies and issues or questions raised. Isn't there an already set a clear line of thought that is official, that we can listen to and understand if it is the foreign minister speaking, if it is the president speaking, or any official who will be negotiating on the part of Uganda? It could be the ambassador who I see seated in front of us and part of the organizing committee. Can that be shared explicitly so that we do not have, for example, to hear a different tone from Mr. Ofono Pondo, a different tone from Minister Oriem when responding to issues that are raised, especially of international nature? Thank you very much. Perhaps the very last question would be, ahead of these two events, I would like to understand what mechanisms are in place to incorporate media practitioners in telling the Ugandan story, because many times, I must be very honest, there are certain members of the media that have either been thought to not to be able to say things that might be acceptable or not if given the opportunity to have a clear presentation on how they see things from their point of view. I hope I'm clear enough on that aspect, especially the very last one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We shall take the next.
Here.
There is a hand over there. There is one at the back and another.
Thank you. My name is Kanare Mugume from NBS Television. My question, there are two. One is on security. Every time we've had an influx of foreigners coming into the country, the embassies, especially for the UK and the US, have consistently issued terror alerts. Despite, of course, a word from government and security, we've seen that government comes through and reassures the public about the safety of the locals and foreigners in the country, but that has not stopped, for example, the travel advisories and terror alerts from these embassies. So, one, are you in touch or are you working together with these embassies? Because I know some of them will have delegations here to be able to understand, for example, what sort of intelligence are they picking that they are basing on to issue these travel advisories for their nationals. But two, they clearly are not coming from nowhere. They should have a base. Is there a need or cause to worry? Especially now that you're going to have an influx of foreigners coming into the country and big numbers. My second question is, government previously in hosting some of these conferences has been reluctant in working, for example, with media in terms of, because when you attend conferences elsewhere, you find that in terms of, for example, setting up spaces for working for media, media is always, for example, like the last resort in some of these conferences that are held in Munyonyo. And, you know, journalists complain way too badly. So what I want to understand is that, are you taking keen interest in working with the journalists themselves to make sure that the delivery of the messages from these summits is actually apt and really exactly what should be coming out, as opposed to looking at media and journalists you know, always at the back end. So I hope that can come out clearly.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Hassan
So
Mutun.
we'll have two more, and then the panel will respond.
Okay. My name is Hassan Mutunzi Bwambale. I work with Center Media Group and the New Light paper. It is always African culture that when you receive visitors, you clear the bush around your home, or even make the road more clear. I want to understand how prepared we are as a country to fix the potholes, more so on the roads that link to Speak Resort Munyonyo. Thank you.
At that stage, I will announce the arrival of the Executive Director, KCCA, my sister Dorothy. You're very welcome. So we shall have the last one, and then the panel will respond.
Yes, good morning. By the names of Robert Onyango from UBC TV. My colleague has just asked the question I was going to begin with. Let me skip it. Secondly, we are borrowing a leaf from the past conferences and summits we have hosted as a country. Let me take you back to the 2007 Chogam Summit. We had a lot of preparations. Like as of today, we are not seeing the real feeling, the real preparations we had that time when it came to organizing and making sure that we had a successful Chogam Summit. There's little which is going on ground. Like Madame Nachovia has made it very clear in her statement that the preparations are almost in advanced stages. But the truth of the fact is that on ground there's still little being done. I myself happen to have been at Munyonyo. When you look at the construction pace, we need to worry. We need to get an assurance from the organizing committee that come January, everything will be on the page where we want it to be. Secondly, in 2007, we saw government recruiting, and that was in line with ensuring that we have a peaceful and secure summit. Are we going to see the same, where government will move in to recruit more security officers? We understand SPCs were recruited during that time, and Mr. Wajire made it very clear that this is the biggest summit we are hosting as a country. Looking at the security threats we have as a country, are we looking at that angle where we shall have to beef up our security? Lastly, when it comes to the fleets, Mr. Wajire and the ministry, 1 year ago, if I have not been mistaken, they were in Parliament and made it very clear that the fleet of 2007 can no longer be used to transport dignitaries. Mr. Wajire, I want to quote him. He said, there was an embarrassment when one of the VIP vehicles broke down. So, in terms of fleet, how big are we looking at investing in it to ensure that we get what we need for this summit? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So allow the panel to respond to that set, those questions, the first set, and then I'll come back and take more questions. So perhaps we start with the first one by Dennis. He wanted to know the budget for hosting this event.
Okay.
And the head of public service will respond to that.
Thank you. We have an approved budget of 40 billion Uganda shillings. This money has been released and has been passed on to the various subcommittees, but we are also requesting for an additional 26 billion that will come as a way of supplementary, but this is yet to be approved. So for now, we are working with the 40 billion. Thank you.
Okay, the next question was from a friend from NTV, and the panel, I'm sure, listened to that. Honorable Minister, I don't know whether you want to take on that. He is concerned that there is lack of clarity on where we stand on a number of international issues. He made a mention of the conflict of Russia-Ukraine, and I should say we are non-aligned, but the Minister will respond to that, and that there is a bit of communication that is not consistent. I think that's what I picked from his submission.
Okay, thank you so much. To begin with, Uganda's foreign policy is very clear. The head of diplomacy is the president. And therefore saying that we entirely depend or we anchor our communication around the vision of the president, that's perfect, all right. That's perfect, all right. That's what we have to do, because he's the head of diplomatic arena in Uganda. But number two, Uganda, like I put in my speech, is a member of the Non Alligned Movement, formed in 1961 with the intention of avoiding polarization of states during the Cold War era, where we had the pro-Russian or the Union of Socialist Republics versus the capitalist America. And I did mention that the formation of this non-aligned movement was for purposes of following the Bandung principles, the 10 Bandung principles, which I have clearly outlined in my speech here. And therefore, if you have looked at Uganda participating at the United Nations, where we have had either of the two worlds motions, we have always either abstained and chosen for peace and conflict resolution through peaceful means, and not supporting either against the other. And that's where we are. And now that we are going to become, to assume the president of NAM, I think we're going to be much more pronounced in that area, and we shall continue to pursue the principles and objectives for which non-aligned movement was formed.
Thank you very much. And I think the other segment of his question was directly to the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance. He was asking why corporate media practitioners are not very engaged, if I got him right. And indeed, similarly, someone asked whether they will be engaged and they will have space to practice their journalism during the summits.
Thank you very much, moderator. As the head of public service mentioned in her opening remarks, we have been in the kitchen cooking, and today is the day we have come out to, officially and formally engage the media and all media houses. So from today going forward, all media houses are going to be a part and parcel of the journey that we are going to walk towards the two summits. Now, in terms, I'm just going to give a brief walkthrough into the expectations of media engagement and publicity. There will be a designated media center at a hotel that we shall communicate, or at a venue that we shall communicate as soon as all proceedings are concluded. Then we shall also have, at that designated place, we shall have all state, local, international, and support media congregate, but all these personnel will have to go through an accreditation process, and that will also be communicated. Live feeds of this event will be aired through our national broadcaster, UBC. We shall have, of course, in terms of connectivity, we shall also have connectivity at that designated, media center, the venue, and at the airport. We shall also be having side press conferences on a needs basis, and these will also be communicated. So I think what media should now prepare for is that we shall communicate when the accreditation process is due to begin, so that whoever is involved will go through this process in preparation for the two summits. Thank you.
All right, thank you. As I invite one of the panelists to answer the next question, I want to take this opportunity to invite you EDKCCA to join us on the panel, because the next question will be yours, and it relates to clearing the bush around the house. So the other question was from Canare on the advisories. The terror alerts, and he was wondering whether we are in touch with the embassies that are indeed issuing these advisories. So I wonder whether any member of the panel would like to respond to that.
The minister.
Okay, the minister.
The recent advisor, I think, was against traveling to Jinja and also warning people about Nyege. You are aware Nyege concluded yesterday, and I think this time it recorded the highest in terms of performance, in terms of attendance. It has been one of the best, I think, events that we have had, and it was very peaceful. Yes, we are in touch with these embassies, and we are telling them that we also have our advisories. And by being members of NAM, one of the principles we stand for is respect of sovereignty and also non-interference in internal affairs of sovereign states. So our country is in charge of her security, and we are calling upon the world to listen to advisories from Uganda, who is in charge of her affairs in Uganda. Thank you.
But maybe just to add, a couple of months ago, there were similar advisories in other capitals in the region. And indeed, the advisories were just advisories, and nothing happened in those capitals. The other question was indeed for the EDKCCA regarding the works in the city. Colleagues, can we have a microphone on the podium? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We as administration at Kampala Capital City, we are gearing up to receiving the guests in January, and we've engaged in several works that are focused on this. One is the roads refurbishment. Two is the decongestion on the sidewalks. Three is the solid waste management and generally lighting up the city. As you know, we've had two major spots on the Munyonyo Road where there have been a lot of flooding at Auto Spa and Soya Bunga. We have embarked on making sure these areas are dealt with, and we've issued notices to the residents that there may be some inconveniences you go through as we deal with these spots. We thank you for being patient with us, but we are dealing with these places comprehensively, and generally the area towards the Speak Resort Center. We are focusing on approximately 15 kilometers that we are working on, and these are along 10 roads, which I'll just mention without going into details. These are Mukwano Road, Press House Road, Gaba Road, Cape Road, Salama Road, Mobutu Road, Prince Badru Kakunguru, UCB Rise, Sediso Road, and Tank Hill Road. Then with regard to decongestion, we are asking all Kampala residents to, in the spirit of our African culture of cleaning up when you're receiving visitors, let everybody deal with their frontages. This is painting and making sure the front of your trading space or housing is not congested. And we have teams on the roads that are supporting the clearing of the frontages. So please liaise with them, work with them so that this is dealt with. The last one is the solid waste management. The disposal of waste, we are availing dustbins. We are going to be availing in very soon dustbins so that the dumping of rubbish on in spaces which are not supposed to be for dumping does not happen. Let the disposal of solid waste be done in the proper dustbins, and we are going to ensure that we avail this to the residents. Finally, why are we doing this now? Is it because we are receiving visitors? No, not necessarily. We are glad that government has released a budget towards the KCCA annual budget, and we are allocating some of that to ensure that we do the works toward getting ready for the summit. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Edie. I'll now invite our Chief of Protocol to respond to Robert Onyango, who raised the issue of he does not see as much energy as he saw in Chogam. So if you can respond to that. And he also raised the issue on construction. So he needs to be reassured. And I think colleagues in the room need to be reassured.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce, and thank you again, Robert, for the question. If I may start with the notion that one of the key outcomes and one of the benefits of Chogam was the setting up or the building of infrastructure that has withstood the time. As you may recall, during the time of Chogam, the discussion was not only about whether we have hotels, whether we have roads, whether we have the associated infrastructure, including transport. Now, we have to be proud of what the government and we Ugandans did during Chogam, that with respect, for instance, accommodation, we have sufficient hotels that came out as a result of Chogam. With respect to roads, we are talking of patching up or repairs. With respect to building capacity of officers to manage, we are talking of officers being refreshed. So part of the reason why there has been some quietness is that, one, the publicity about Chogam was much higher because of a lot of challenges that the country was facing. The question is to be asked, where are you putting this in terms of hotels? Where are the roads? Where are the vehicles? Now, this also brings to the point that, for instance, now we are no longer even talking whether we have sufficient vehicles. We are talking that we have a fleet which is old, but we have replenished it. Now, in terms of efforts we have been doing, we have been mainly focusing and building on the assets and the resources we have had in Chogam. It's true, the publicity has not been as during Chogam simply because the challenges have not been as much as we had in Chogam. But as the head of civil service and the minister announced here, there's a lot of work that has taken place, and soon, beginning today, you are going to hear a lot about that work. With respect to, should I talk about the fleet? Talk about construction. With respect to the construction of the convention center, you are all aware that sometime last year, government decided to partner with Speaker Resort Munyonyo to build a convention center. Bearing in mind that all the past meetings, including the African Union, have been held in tents, Chogam had 53 countries. I did not have the sort of meeting format we have. So it was found important that we move from holding our meetings in tents, and that as a country we show maturity. So a joint venture agreement was entered in between UDC on behalf of government of Uganda and Speaker Resort Munyonyo and the construction of the convention center started about 8 months ago. We should say the pace of work at Munyonyo has not been as one would have expected, but we can confidently tell you that 85% of the works have been completed, and we are pretty sure that by mid-December, the convention center will be ready to host the 2 summits, in addition to the attendant facilities that are already in place. So rest assured, gentlemen of the media, at an appropriate time, the NO committee and the management of Speaker Dr. Munyonyo and the UDC will take you on a tour of these facilities. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. Madam Head of Public Service, I wonder whether there is anything you want to add, especially on the fleet.
Thank you. It is true that the fleet we procured in 2007 is old, but that should not cause any worry, because over time, government has built capacity in regard to fleet management and fleet acquisition. We have a number of vehicles in government, and these are the ones that have been identified and mobilized to serve during the 2 summits. Therefore, the government will not be procuring any new vehicles, but will be using the available vehicles within government, plus the donation that I talked about earlier in my speech, which was donated by the Chinese. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone on the Security and Accreditation Committee here in the room? Okay, there being none, I'll request Ambassador Donia to respond on the issue related to security. The member raised the issue that during CHOGM, there was recruitment of more security officers or operatives, but that is not seen. Like many security operations, you don't see much, but the colleague from the media says that is not seen. So if you can just respond to that.
Everybody's. Thank you, PS. I think as NOC, we have worked with the security subcommittee. We expected them to be here, but I will attempt to answer the question. I think our colleagues from security have done a commendable job. This week, the police will be passing out a unit that will specifically be dealing with the 2 summits. They have a joint coordination committee at the highest level, and most of their work is, of course, as expected, behind the scenes, and you can be rest assured that we really oversee their work, and everything will be safe. They are putting in place all the necessary precautions to make sure that our guests are safe. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Moderator.
All right, thank you. So we'll take the last set of questions, perhaps 3 or 5, and we conclude this engagement. There's a gentleman right here. Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm Biambweni Peter from a Policy Initiative and Think Tank. We have had some of these nostalgic moments about NAM presented by the Minister, which is good, and one of the objectives was non-interference, respecting of sovereign countries. Now back here to the economic bloc, the East African community. Now that we want to become one, will this have a negative impact in our economic, in our East African community? Because yes, we are still independent, but we are trying much as we can to become one. Will it have any negative impact? Because basing on the objective, respecting the sovereign countries. So you give me that to understand more. And then also to the tourism, to the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities. Now, at this time, we have not had a high gear in tourism, because now this is the blessing for this country that we are hosting these people, and we expect a lot. We expect tourism to earn from these visitors, from these international visitors. But we have not had much in terms of promoting tourism and guaranteeing the security, reassuring that this time around we are not going to have as a message that like what happened a few when the people that were perished were killed in the Queen Elizabeth. Thank you very much.
Okay, there's a gentleman right here. And that seems to be the last.
Thank you very much. My name is Pedison Mumbere. I work for a business TV, Smart 24 Television. My question is going directly to Madame Lucy Nachori. You've just revealed to us that government is going to cash out close to 40 billion and we expect to get more in regard to funding these two summits that are coming to the country. But me, I believe that where we invest, we must expect a return on investment. I would love to know from you, Madam, that since we're going to fund these two events close to 40 billion plus, what is our anticipated return on investment? Thank you so much.
The trade event.
Just one more.
Well,
Just one more. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Kanare Mugume again. One, this goes to PSICT, Dr. Zawede. The internet at the airport is quite terrible, not good at all. What are we going to do to make sure our visitors have a seamless experience of connectivity and communication, but even at the venue? The other question goes to KCCA Executive Director. KCCA has recruited a team of men and women called the RRU, Rapid Response Unit. They have unleashed terror on small businesses and vendors along the route from Munyonyo to Kansanga to Kabalagala all the way to Nsambia. Of course, their property has been destroyed and taken away, especially the small businesses, the vendors on street and small markets. How are we making sure that as much as we're hosting visitors, countrymen and women are actually not inconvenienced? Or maybe if it is a policy for KCCA to make sure that those streets are clear, why don't we ably communicate to these men and women what the intention of the Rapid Response Unit is without necessarily unleashing terror on them and having them arrested and their property taken? And then to Ambassador Adonier, okay, fine, we're taking up the chairmanship of NAM, but what does this mean for the country? Why should we care? Why should this be a big deal for us? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'll invite the panel to respond, starting with Peter, the gentleman who runs a think tank. He is concerned about non-interference and whether that will affect our relation with, within the East African community and whether it will have a negative impact. Honorable Minister, you want to take that?
Thank you. NAM is an association of member countries who have willingly come together. And if you look through the principles and the objectives, it exactly espouses non-interference. Now, the East African community is also an association, an integration of member states willingly coming together. None of them is forced, and none of them interferes, they only cooperate. So I really don't see the contradiction here. And the very principles espoused by NAM arrangement flow through to the East African community member states. So therefore there is really no contradiction here. All you should be assured of is that it is a good thing to belong to non-aligned movement where we espouse objectives such as non-interference in internal affairs of a sovereign state, which really Uganda does so well and East Africa does so well. But the East African community is a community of member states who willingly integrate for purposes of two broad purposes. One, economic integration, but also strategic security of those countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And maybe just to add, all members of the East African community except one are members of the Non Alligned Movement. So all the rest are members of NAM, with the exception of one. Madam Head of Public Service and Secretary to Cabinet, Mumbere is asking, can you tell us about the returns on investment?
The returns are many. Some are visible, some are invisible. And as I talked of the business forum. We shall be having a business forum as a side event. And in this business forum, we hope to reap benefits. We hope to promote trade. Our manufacturing entities here will have discussions with other counterparts in the region, but also outside the region. And so they hope to reap from the trade engagements they will have, investment promotion, tourism. My colleague is here to talk about how she's marketing the tourism. We shall also benefit because this is for who are coming. We shall sell our country to them, and probably we shall get more tourists coming. Then there is also the socio-economic benefit for our people. You remember that those who come, when they come, they don't just come here, but they also spend. So we are likely to get some small monies from here and there, but also the social interactions. Then we also have the political benefit. As I told you that this is a vote of confidence in our president for him to host and to be a chair for these two big events at the same time. So it is a tick on his part, but also on our country, and also the increased visibility for Uganda. Remember, we are getting 134 countries to come here. Those from the Caribbean, some don't even know what Uganda means. They've never heard about it. So this is time for us to get on the map and be more visible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And maybe just to add on that, part of our foreign policy objectives is to engage in the international fora. So in hosting this, we are executing, we as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, our duties under the Constitution. So I'll invite Madam Katusime, the PS, our PS for tourism, to respond on the issue of how we are promoting tourism.
Thank you. Thank you, PS. And thank you for that very good question regarding tourism. I think the head of public service, when she was making her opening remarks, and I think Ms. Sarah Kajingo also mentioned this, that the key areas that will be promoted by these two summits are trade, tourism, and investment. Now, I think sometimes when we talk of tourism, many people imagine that a tourist must leave Kampala and go to the national park. Now, tourism is much broader than that. And indeed, as Uganda, we are now positioning ourselves as a MICE destination. Now, MICE stands for meetings, incentives, conferences or conventions, and events. So when you have an event, let's take the example of Nyege Nyege. The minister was telling me just when we were seated here that all the hotels in Jinja were so full that people had to vacate their houses so that people could use them. So when you have a summit, two summits happening in the country, you can imagine how many hotels in Entebbe and Kampala will be full, how many Airbnbs, how many guest houses will be full, the restaurants will be busy, the entertainment places. That is a big, big boost to tourism. The convention center that is being built is going to be a big boost to the tourism industry. So it is not true to think that there's no boost to tourism. It's a very big boost. And in addition to that, some of these guests or delegates will be probably first-time guests to Uganda. And who knows, they will be encouraged to come back, maybe with their friends or families. But in addition to that, we are also working with the tourism private sector to actually come up with itineraries in case there are delegates who are coming to the summits, but in addition to that, want to go and see more of Uganda. We are also putting up those itineraries for excursions. We are putting up excursions for spouses. So there is a lot that will benefit the tourism industry. Finally, just to mention the incident that happened in Queen Elizabeth, as was mentioned. This was a very sad and unfortunate incident. People lost lives. We lost a tour guide. We lost 2 tourists, a couple that were on honeymoon. But just to emphasize that it was unfortunate, but it was an isolated incident. It's not that Queen Elizabeth is an insecure place, and I'm sure you have seen that since that event, there has been an influx of tourists to Queen Elizabeth. I'm sure you saw yesterday, even in the papers, there was a team of journalists and tour operators that came from the Nordic countries who paid a courtesy call on our president, but were coming from Queen Elizabeth. And on this note, I would really want to thank the media, both print and electronic media. The way this incident was covered, of course, we have issues with the way people share information, especially now with social media. But I think in this particular case, the media worked together with government to make sure that there was a lot of positive publicity following that incident, and I would like to thank you. So Queen Elizabeth is safe. All our national parks are safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. PSICT, Internet at the Airport. And lastly, Ambassador Donia, what does it mean to be chairperson?
On access to internet, I think this was raised by Canary. We have been able to upgrade our Wi-Fi at the airport to Wi-Fi 6. And Wi-Fi 6 is one of those, top end access, Wi-Fi access that we have. So we are certain and assured of, efficient and effective connectivity at the airport. We are not only connecting the airport, but we are also connecting the main venue of the summit, which is Munyonyo, and upgrading it to Wi-Fi 6 as well. The designated area for the media center is also going to be connected, and we are going to have a robust protected link set up to support the summit proceedings, including live coverage. So we expect that we won't have any breaks in transmission during, the live broadcast online. In terms of course, when we talk about connectivity, this goes hand in hand with cybersecurity. In line with cybersecurity, we have a framework to secure safety of the summit proceedings. We have also done an awareness training to the NOC members, that is the organizing committee members, and we are also continuing to sensitize all entities involved in the organization of this summit, including the media. We have, for the websites that we have supported to set up, I think Head of Public Service mentioned the websites for the NAM Summit as well as the G77 Summit. We have secured these websites with stronger protection, in technical terms called web application firewall, to ensure that all our content is safe and secure. So to give you comfort, we are assured of, efficient and uptime connectivity throughout the summit. Thank you.
Ambassador Donia. Ambassador Donia.
Thank you, PS. Canada, these meetings are really a big deal. I should mention that this is the first time one country chairs both Non Alligned Movement and the Group of 77. These are two major forums for the Global South, for developing countries. These two organizations represent the developing countries. What do we have to benefit? I think, like the head of service have said, there are visible benefits and invisible benefits. The invisible benefit of chairing, not only hosting, but after hosting, we will be chairing these two bodies. And the benefits are really many. How do you leverage this strong diplomatic position Uganda will be holding? Most of the non-aligned movement countries and G77 countries are really developed countries, very developed. You can go on the website and see India, others, you can name them, China. I think we can leverage this position to really get foreign direct investment in the areas of infrastructure, tourism, and many, many other areas. So as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the leadership, we have to really leverage, and most countries that have chaired non-aligned movement and G77 have really leveraged that position to accrue benefits. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Last but not least, the rapid response team. Madam Idi.
Thank you. It's the mandate of KCCA to ensure that there is trade order in the city everywhere. And under our Physical Planning Act, we are mandated to ensure that the trading and construction happens only the designated places. So our law enforcement teams, including the Rapid Response Unit, RRU, are working with the residents to clear. Most of these people are willingly leaving the illegal places where they've been trading. Of course, there are 1 or 2 cases where they have used force to remove them. But it is not our style to mistreat people, to mistreat residents who are trading in these places. But we are not condoning, and we will not condone trading in illegal places. That one is going to continue to be dealt with. We are removing illegal structures. We are removing street children from the city and taking them back to places where they can be taken care of. We have a place, the government has a place in Karamoja, and there is USO has a veiled Masulita and other homes where these children are being taken. But we are appealing to all our residents. Trading in an illegal place is not allowed, and we are going to ensure that you don't trade there. We are appealing to the leadership across the city. That includes LC1. We have 898 LC1 chairpersons with their committees. We have 99 parish chiefs. We have 5 mayors and the Lord Mayor. We have 479 councillors. This leadership structure in the city, it's our city. We take leadership, and we mobilize people not to trade, not to work in places which are legal. In this particular time, let's work together. Even the religious leaders, pastors and leaders of other faiths, let's come together, green the city, ensure that there is no, there are no illegal activities. And media, I appeal to you to work with us and call out people who are doing illegal things like littering everywhere. In as much as we are doing our part as KCCA, we need to work together as a community to keep our city clean and to work towards a smart city together.
Thank you very much. We shall now have the last word from the Head of Public Service and Secretary to Cabinet, and then the Minister will conclude this engagement. Over to you, Madam Head of Public Service.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for coming and for having honored our invitations. As I told you, the purpose for this meeting was to inform you about the 2 summits that are coming up in January, but also to request for partnership with you. Now that you are aware, we bank on your ability and cooperation and goodwill to market these 2 events. I want you to rest assured that all preparations are on course, and it will be value for money, it will be value for time, and it will be value for efforts, because the benefits for our country and for us all are enormous. I want to thank you in advance, for I know your commitment and the goodwill that you have exhibited starting from today will enable us have a successful event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Head of Public Service and Secretary to Cabinet. Honorable Minister, kindly give us the last word.
I would like to thank all our invited guests, especially the media, for coming to attend this media briefing about the 2 important conferences we're going to host in 2024. I would like to call upon our media as key partners in this process to engage into sensitizing the public, creating that most wanted awareness, but also kindly report responsibly. I'm aware when you are planning for any event, even at your home, you would be interested in reporting negative things little, but please emphasize the positives. In many cases, only in Uganda, where you see little negative things given huge publicity in our media, both social media, media print, and even television. Kindly, we beg you to partner with us and report responsibly. That's not to say that you don't report the negatives, but please put them in context and in perspective in as far as what we intend to achieve is concerned. For purposes of clarity, just put it in context. I would like to borrow the words of the late President of Cuba, Fidel Castro. He summarized the purpose of the organization called NAM as to ensure independence, sovereignty, territorial integrity, and security of member countries against colonialism, imperialism, neocolonialism, racism, and all forms of foreign aggression. So I'd like to invite you, members of the press, to report hugely about the purpose of NAM, and also to give clarity, that much needed clarity, to the public about the expected outcome. The expected outcome is so huge, both politically but also economically for our country. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Head of Public Service and Secretary to Cabinet, colleagues, the PSs, and ED, and our PR. Thank you for your time. And I want to assure our friends, colleagues in the media fraternity that we are going to have periodical briefings to update you on where we are in as far as the preparations are concerned. Thank you for coming, and have a good day.
Sunshine rise, anything for your sacrifice. katika maisha yangu, unanichoma kama fire. My feelings multiply, stick on me like a tattoo. Whisper munda mokoto, cultivate, penetrate, tikita munda munzeko na wetutu. Situla omokwano hevelete munyenye no mwezi heaven. Bring it on reggaeton chakala munda munzeko na wetutu. I have nothing, nothing go do as a party. Kutwa sawa kati.